right now out of Colorado Springs, and we definitely was talking about the Enemy Expatriation Act, an act that was deemed to make American citizens become enemy combatants of the Americas, and therefore stripped of their citizenship and being able to, I don't know what they want to do with them after that. This act was introduced by Joe Lieberman. I thought it was a good idea to let everybody know in the community and around the world exactly what's taking place and what track we're on. And, you know what I mean? So we all can be aware of what's taking place, because a lot of people find out they really don't pay close attention to politics and to what politicians are doing when they're sitting there pulling the strings that will affect your life. So that's why this topic was brought about today. I want to thank Shay Thott, Ed Billings, and everybody else that participated. Brother out of Oregon, are you with us still?
Yeah, I'm still here. I mean,
okay.
Definitely. I'm going to be posting a whole bunch of stuff on your wall about our rights, the laws, and the structure. So when you go through it, you can see my point, because I go by most of our titles and stuff is done by UCC Commercial Code, and we got stuff to protect us, and that's the only thing right now that is able to assist us besides being free men.
Right.
You know, and like I said, a lot of people don't understand how our system has been developed, how it's become a newest act, and I understand the whole circumstances. You know, they've been asking me to write a book on this, but the point is, I want to educate the people so this way the children are not laying in FEMA camps or subservient slaves to this new dictatorship, because they're trying to change our country. If you notice, Obama, what they're doing is he's acting under the de facto government of 1871, and if people don't know about that, please look up de facto 1871. Bill, the first video comes up, explains it very well, because these people don't have authority at all. Elections and all this stuff, the way they do the federal the elections, are all illegal today.
Okay, we say they don't have authority, but what makes them have authority? They absolutely...
Because you allow them and you give them authority called applied consent. That's the smart meters that they put on your home. With the smart meters, this is fact, and I'll be putting it up on your wall. Those meters allow the police department to walk in your home without a warrant, because you're going by your birth certificate and you're signing of a driver's license, voter registration. So that gives them the legal rights to come in your home. Greece learned this the hard way when they went bankrupt. And when they went in and all the media was telling the truth, not all the facts, they went into most of the elected and public employees' homes and took their assets because they were liable, because they created the jobs off of their birth certificate. There was no income to pay for it. That's why they're calling the debt.
Okay, all right. Listen, over here in this community, I live in we live over here in New York City, and what we see over here is brute force. Nobody asks for paperwork and all this other stuff. If they want to get into your vehicle, they want to pull you over, they want to search you, they want to bust you upside the head. It's brute.
That's what they're doing in Oregon.
They just go ahead and do it. They don't even have to show paperwork. They don't give a damn if you have the proper paperwork. So you're saying that having the paperwork and all, and educating yourself can stop you from this type of attacks and brutal things that we've seen. We've seen countless amount of teens killed over here in New York, and not just teens, adults and all the things killed, and the law enforcement being vindicated and things like that. You trying to tell me if they had the proper, if they knew their rights and all this other stuff, they would have been spared? It's come up. Kind of go ahead, eat that all in, because I think that those people would have been killed anyway, because there's a lack of respect for human decency and life on this side of town over here.
Yeah, no, I grew up in the streets of San Francisco, so I understand how all the crimes and all that. But most of the drug wars and all that out of California, in New York, what they were claiming, was not as big as it was. They were creating a drug fraud, and that's 28 U.S.C. 841. No Prohibition Act has ever been signed into law. And I know this because I was on the side that I thought I was doing the right thing until I had my eyes open to understand the system correctly, instead of just going out robbing, piracy, and pillaging like they're doing today and the way they're taught to do today. And if they know their rights, I mean, I know a lot of wonderful peace officers. You know, when they get pulled, people get pulled over by them and they're not rude, they're respectful and stuff, they do their job. We do have peace officers, but it's understanding the right ones and knowing it and educating them. And then when they're not doing their job, I'll put up the case for New York City, how to file on the police department for you in New York City. I'll put it up on your wall here. But it's understanding how to go after these people personally, because that means they lose their homes. You can file charges on them personally for the assault. And you cannot file that with the DA or the State Attorney General because they work for the corporation called the British government. I've been fighting that in my state for the last 8 years, and if you go on John Kitzhofer's Facebook site, you'll see me on that for their having me prisoned in my home again. Okay? I understand the system. And this is where we have to understand how to file on these people. Not only that, give them the education and let people know that the ones in the system that are complying by 5 U.S.C. 2906-3333, that when they're complying with that, they need the backing of the people to back them to do their job. And that's why we're so split, because a lot of these guys have been committing racketeering and fraud for years. They don't have the backing. And I put up on your website too, attorney's license. There is no such thing as an attorney. We've been taught about the system that this is the British system. This goes back to the 16th, 14th century. And technically, if you type in the Treaty of 1213, that's where all this started with the Christian wars. And so these cops today are acting the same way as the Christian war capacity like they did in the 12th century. And this is the frustration of how they're being wrongfully educated. I'm going to put up a long one that gets into laws and structure on their site. And there's a couple videos you can watch. And I've got videos with me being assaulted by the police getting up. But the bottom line comes down to educating ourselves to form our unions, our juries in our communities. Educate the children so when the police come by, they don't have a right to search the kid. And if they do come near the kid, tell the kid to start yelling rape. Okay? Oh my God, what is the guy going to do? Because remember, and I'll put this up and I'll prove this to you beyond a shadow of a doubt, the police departments are non-profit agencies, have no lawful agreement to the public. They are not legal in the United States of America at all. Any police agency, they're non-profits. They have no authority. That's why you have to go after them personally. Because if you allow them to continue with giving them the authority over you, and that's saying, I understand, when a cop asks you or a judge says, do you understand? That means you stand beneath them. You're not an equal to them. When they ask me if I understand, I have no idea what you're talking about, sir. I don't agree with them. I don't get up when they walk in the room. I don't take my gum off, the gum or my hat off. And the minute a judge asks you to move your glasses or anything, that's complying. So once you do that, you've given him authority. And people do that, and they don't realize it. And then they get slammed to the ground by the cops, and they wonder why they lost this right or that right. Well, you gave them authority by doing that. You don't comply. Right now, I won't even go to the courts because I was assaulted by the police. The last 2 times I was in there for 48 hours having a heart attack, so they finally took me to the hospital. And then July 20th, I went in and they assaulted me with gunpoint with the sheriffs to my head and stuff. The videos are up on YouTube, and I'm not going to comply, I understand I'm sitting here in a snake pit where they come break my door down and mow me over. I understand this reality, but I'm not going to comply. I'm all over the internet and telling people, you file this way, stand up for your rights. This is what's horrifying them. I spent 20 years at the Capitol arguing Senate and House bills for the changing to protect the public, and all I did was watch greed, and everybody tried to get me to sell my soul to the company store. I could not do that. So, right now, I'm on nitro grip and all this stuff. I won't give my authority over to them. And that's how we're going to start getting this thing through, is to file on them, not giving the authority over to them. Once they start realizing they don't have authority over you, this is when the change is going to happen, and it's got to start in the local levels and the local city hall and town hall meetings. And the mayor and the city council need to have the charges filed on them for racketeering and embezzling where the money is. Because the money's supposed to come back to us in dividend checks, technically, and we haven't been getting those for the last 40 years. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it does.
That was some information right there. I'm going to tell you, that was a lot of information, you think about the regular people. They would never, ever know such a thing. I mean, people are going to have their resolve and everything like that, and say they would never be able to stand up to the authorities. especially if you go to court, just like you said, they take your hat off. You don't take it off. You
Let me put it this way to you. A recalled government body. I worked on recalls on judges around the state of Oregon in the background. I've been involved in numerous recalls, because when I recalled the school board in 2002, I recalled basically all 5 school board members. Never been done in the West Coast history before. An entire government body recalled by the public. They panicked. They went after attacking me in the media so bad. 2004, they closed the Oregon Coast fishing down. If you got caught fishing after September 9th, it was $1,500 fine, 30 days in jail. I'm out there telling everybody, hey, God gave us the right to feed ourselves. We didn't have to go to the grocery store and ask permission, so I'm not complying. And I proved that Patty Burke and Oregon Park Fish and Wildlife lied with their numbers to the public and the world. And that was all over the media, and everybody was panicking because nobody could dispute what I stated with the facts I put out. And so, and that is the point. We have a constitutional born right that protects us from our elected and public employees. The Constitution is not yours. The Constitution is to protect you from your employees. And that is, your peace officers, your county clerk, your dog catcher, even doctors. When they sign those government checks that they get the funding, that means they are technically a government employee. So, and they don't understand it. They don't know it. And then some of them, get called on it, and you hear your little blips in the media, and you're like, well, that should have changed this. No, because nobody stood up behind that to go after the change, if that makes sense. So when we get the people starting to unite and make the change happen on the local levels, then that's when the media is going to pick up, because the media can't keep selling its souls on the debt.
Which is something I've really been trying to push in Colorado Springs. And in a city like this, it's a challenge. There is more attention being brought now, since I started doing stupid cartoons about what Colorado Springs is really like 3 years ago. More people are starting to take notice of what our local city government is like. And Brother Tempo, and if you can remember what I said at the beginning of the show, is, definitely people even from New York City all the way to Oregon, pay attention to what in the hell your local government is doing, because your local government,
your elected and public employees, by the Constitution, by our Constitution, separates us, and we are the government. We have employees. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
They're using the tax dollars that you...
That's correct, and that's the way we got to do it. Right now, I'm posting on your wall where the outgoing IRS director says all taxes are voluntary, even property taxes, and Reed didn't even agree with it. You can read Reed going along exactly what he's saying. Yes, everything is voluntary. You got YouTube videos with me and the House and Senate of Oregon members where they're going, come on, Ed. I've been up there so long. Come on, Ed. You know it's voluntary. And I said, yeah, but the people don't know it. I got the videos up. Okay? And the point is that if we're not educating each other in the proper manner of our system, the way it was written by our forefathers to put remedy in to protect us, to understand how the remedy works, as well as our public employees' employment works, until people get that two correlation, understanding, that's why we're so confused. They haven't taught civics or structure in school since 1980. When I went to school, we used to call Democrats British government. Republicans, rhinos. I mean, we had different names, but we knew the Democrats were the British government. And then in 1980, political correctness came out in all the media, and the First Amendment rights started being tarnished, because if you call somebody a British or an Arab, and now they call that racism, but that is not racism. And if you look up the term racism is not a color issue. Period. End of story. Racism is like me. I'm a sovereign citizen. I'm being taxed by the majority. So when you're taxed by the majority, that's a racism issue. Color is not racism. But this is why the media gets us confused, and we're fighting each other. And these guys up at the Capitol, believe me, I've been there, and they're laughing at people going, man, it's so easy to get these guys going back and forth on themselves. And this is how they get these bills